Hello, in this presentation we will set up customers and new customer balances into QuickBooks Online. We will have a comprehensive QuickBooks Online course soon, if not available yet. We also have a comprehensive Excel course which complements the QuickBooks courses and a QuickBooks Pro desktop version course you can find at the link below. Here we are within the dashboard. If you've been following along with us, we will be continuing with the Get Great Guitars problem. We will be entering customers. This is a new company file at this point. If you haven't been following along, that's okay. We will be entering new customer balances, multiple customers, and their customer balances. In order to do this, we're going to go from the dashboard here to the sales item. So we're on the left-hand side, and remember you have to have this icon open in order to get there. So if you click on this icon, and then we're going to go to sales because we sell things to customers. And then up top you want to make sure you're on the customers tab. So we are on the customers tab in the sales tab. Scrolling down, we could issue one customer at a time and add one customer at a time, or we could import a file. We're going to go ahead and import a file and enter this information into Excel, importing multiple files at one time. In order to see the sample file, we can select this drop down and we're going to construct this Excel file now. Here we are with Excel open. We're going to enter the data into the Excel worksheet and then upload that worksheet into QuickBooks. If you don't have Excel, you can try to do this with Google Docs and then save it as a CSV file. I believe it was a CSV file. That would be another option if that isn't something available or is not working. And then we could just enter these customers one by one as we go through it here. So we're only going to have 3 of them, so it won't be too bad either way we need to do it. I'm going to go down here and make this a little bit larger. We're on 100% right now. I'm going to make this bigger than 100%, something larger. How about 170? So we are at 170%. We are in cell A1. We're just going to type in the names first. So I'm going to put in the full name. So I'm going to just say name rather than first name and last name. Just type in the full name, company, and that's going to be our second. I'm hitting tab to go to the next cell. Then I'm saying tab. Cell 3, that's going to be the customer balance. And note that it's going to be over the cell once again. It's not too bad. It's okay. I can type in the cell. And then I'll just widen the cell later. I want to practice just being able to be okay with typing in the cell even though there's overlap, because that's going to be a little bit faster for us to do the data input. So we don't skip a cell. We're still here on D1 and we're going to type in the opening balance. Opening balance. Now let's do some formatting to these cells. I'm going to highlight all of those cells. I'm going to put my cursor on A so you see the drop down arrow. Select the left click and then scroll over to D or E. Then I want to format these and auto format them to whatever they need to be. So I'm going to put my cursor right between any of these cells so it looks like that, not like that, but like that, not but like that, and any of these in between any of these cells. And we double click and then it'll give us the format or the length that we need. Now these two I think are going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to need them to be larger than just the name because we're going to have an entire name that we will be putting into these 2 cells. Therefore, I'm going to highlight these 2 cells on A and B, and then I'm going to drag them to the left, just making them larger, just what I would think would be good enough space to enter the full name. So we're just going to drag this to the left, and there we have, that looks about, it's probably about maybe even a little bit larger. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to make these bold, just so they know when we upload that these are the headers rather than just the text. That will be the names of the actual names and companies and balances. These are the headers of the names and companies and balances. So I'm going to highlight all of those. We're going to go to the Home tab, Font Group, and Bold. That's all we really need. If you want to center it, sometimes that's nice. Go over here and center them. That's the Home tab, Alignment, Group, Center. Then we can type in the names that we have. So we're going to say the first person is Anderson Guitars. I'm going to select tab to go to the right, and I'm just going to type the same thing here. So if the company is going to be the same, therefore I'm just going to copy this and paste it. So I right click, of course, and copy, right click in B2 and paste there. Customer balance, we're going to have the balance that is due. Now, if this was a new customer and we hadn't been doing business before, would have no balance. But in this case, we have been doing business. We just haven't set up our QuickBooks file yet, and therefore are putting in those beginning balances. So we're going to say the beginning balance is going to be 5,000. I'm going to format this cell a bit differently because I do want to have a comma there and whatnot. So I'm going to put my cursor on this whole column to highlight that entire cell. Right click, and then we're going to go to the format cells. And I typically go to currency. I have brackets even though we don't need them if there's a negative number. And then I take off the dollar sign. We don't really need the dollar sign. 2 decimals for pennies, that's good. And then we'll select OK, which is down here. OK. There we have that. I'm going to change the name here a little bit. It's going to be opening balance as of date. So this is going to be the date that we're going to have these opening balance of. I'll make this a little bit wider, double clicking right in between these. There's the entire amount. So this is in essence the date that we're going to be putting this information in as of. Now our problem, we're going to be working as of 2021 being the first date that we start entering data into. Therefore, I want to put this in right before that date. So 12/31/00. And the rationale, once again, that should be actually 12/31/2020. And the rationale, once again, is that we want to have this information in there as of the first date before the date that we actually start entering data. Because when we start entering data, we want this to kind of wash out in terms of any journal entry that QuickBooks will have to do. The journal entry QuickBooks will have to do will be to increase this customer balance in accounts receivable and put the other side somewhere, possibly to undeposited revenue or opening balance equity. So we want that to all be done with and washed out by the time we start our new data input. Then we're going to have the next customer, which is going to be Jones Guitars. And I'm going to put the same thing for the company name. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, doing this a bit quicker now. We're going to put the amount, 7,500, tab, and the date of 12/31/2020, and enter. We then have one more customer that we will enter, and that's going to be Smith Guitars. And we're going to copy that over, right click and copy, and paste that into the company as well. Amount's going to be 8,000 that is owed to us as the point in time that we will be importing this. Same date, 12/31/2020. So here will be our information. We're going to go ahead and save this document now and this Excel document and then upload it, this Excel workbook. So we're going to go to the File tab. We're going to go to Save As, browsing the computer to see where we would like to put it. We have now located where we want to have it. I'm going to change the name now to from Book 1 to Customers. And note that it is a workbook file, meaning an Excel file, and that will be uploadable to the QuickBooks program. However, if you're using some other format and you wanted to change the format in terms of using, for example, Google Docs and wanted to try to change the format to a CSV file or something like that, this is the area that you can go through to make that adjustment. We're going to go ahead and save this and then close this. And then we'll upload this. We're back to QuickBooks here. Now I'm going to show you how do we get here one more time. So if I close this out, we're in the sales area on the left-hand side and customers up top. Then we're scrolling down and we're going to import a file. Now, of course, that file needs to be Excel or CSV. We have an Excel file now. Therefore, we will browse for that Excel file and upload that. Here is the Excel file right there. So we're going to upload this Excel file. We could select open. I'm just going to double click on it and that should upload the file. Then select this next thing or button. It should then turn green rather than light green, or it'll turn dark green, and we'll select next. Now we're just going to match up these items. So these are telling us what the potential categories are, matching up to what we have input here. So we have, and if we open up the Excel file just to show this, make sure it is making sense. These are just going to be the header columns, and what we're doing is matching them up to our header columns. So the name should match up to the name so that the names here will fill up to the names. Company, company, customer balance. And if our header file here, our header name, doesn't match up exactly to the input field within the QuickBooks, then we'll have to match those up. manually. So name is matched up with name. That's good. Company is company. So we've got that correct. We haven't input an email address, phone number, mobile, fax. If we had all that information, we should include it and import it here. We're just going to do the minimum right now just to set up those balances. Those balances being what we're most concerned with for the financial statements. Of course, the contact information would be very important as well, just if we're tracking this information within this database system. So then we have the website, the street address, all the mailing address. We don't have that information, not required to import, however, good information to have. We do have an opening balance. Note they have opening balance and we put customer balance. It's still lining up the way it should, so that's okay. So it took this cell here, and this is an Excel, and matched it up with their cell of opening balance. And then we have the opening balance date, and we put that in as opening balance as of date, and they were able to figure that out as well and match that up. So we're going to go ahead and say next here. It looks good. And it's not liking the balances here, so let's check this out. Looks like it's just not liking the format of these items. So we've got the 7005 with the comma. If we just type in the number again, 7005, then it seems to accept that. So note that if we had a lot of customers that we were entering and we didn't have just 3 that we could just easily go in here and fix, we would want to adjust the files here back to just numbers, possibly just to a general. So if I go to the number up here and we take it back to general, that might be the best way to import it here rather than formatting it. And then the date format, this is a little bit more tricky because the date format is not exactly standard or at least for Excel, what they're looking for. They want it to be, rather than month, day, and year, they want it to be year and then month and then day. So I'm going to go through here and just update this within our 3 systems here. But if we wanted to change that in Excel before we were to import it, we can highlight the Excel for the date, right click, and go to Format Cells. And note if we go to the date, what we're looking for is something that starts with the year. And if we scroll down here, I don't see anything that is formatted in that way. So we'd have to go to the custom formatting down here, and then we would want to select one that had basically the year and then slash day and then, or I think it was month, and then slash day, and that would be the format we're looking for. And they may even want a dash instead of a slash, so we have a dash here. So this isn't really important unless this was an issue and you had a lot that you wanted to reformat, because we can go in and reformat these, but it would look something like that. Let's see if that gives us the format we want. We're going to say OK. And so this looks like the format that they are looking for, year and then month and then day. So then we can go back over here and update this information. So let's go back to QuickBooks, and I'm just going to type in this 8,000 here. And note, I'm actually going to change that amount too. It's 8,000. So I'm going to scroll back up here. We put 80. It should be 8,000. So I'm going to put 8,000 there. I'm going to scroll back over here. We're going to put 8,000 here. And then I'm going to change the format of these dates to 2020-12-31 and 2020-12-31. So that'll be the information. We have import is now highlighted as a dark green, looking like we can process or complete the import process. Let's do that now. So we will import, and here we have that information. So we've got these 3 customers, and we've got the opening balances. That's the bare minimum that we need in order to keep going forward. That's what's going to track for us within accounts receivable, that these people owe us money. And that's what we need to go forward. Now note that when we do that, this is going to create something in accounts receivable, and QuickBooks is going to have to put another side to that somewhere else as well. So let's say, meaning there's going to have to be another account that will be affected by the fact that accounts receivable went up by these balances. Let's go to the reports and take a look at that. So we're going to go to the reports on this side, left-hand side, reports. Scrolling down, and we're looking for, let's try the balance sheet first. Balance sheet report. And we're going to put the balance sheet report because we're working in the future. So we're going to make this as of 12/31/2020. 12/31/2020. That's when we entered this data for. We're going to go ahead and run the report. And so here we have the report, and now here's that 20,500 in accounts receivable. Note that we're still in balance, so that didn't throw us out of balance. We still have that amount in the total equity amount here. Why? Well, there's going to be something that happened in net income somehow, even though we didn't have any sales. And we had the opening balance equity, which is a funny account in and of itself. We will have to deal with those in the future, but we're going to deal with this now. And if we just double click on the receivable, or click on it one time here, then we'll be in the data. So here's the data that we have, 12/31/20, and it gives us our information that we have just entered in order to get to that amount. Now the reason we're running this as of, I'm going to go back here, going to go back to the report. The reason we're running this as of, and we entered this as of 12/31/2020 is because we will be actually entering the data, entering the new data as of 01/01/2021. So 01/01/21. If we change the dates to January 1st, 2021 to January 1st, 2021, then we'll run the report once again and see what we have here. So here we have the report. We still have the 20,500. We still have the 2,896. But when we scroll down to the equity section, that net income has now moved into retained earnings. That's really where we want it. We don't want it in net income as of the first date that we actually have operations. That's why we're entering this data the day before or the year before we actually start the data input. Let's see the same type of concept as we look at the profit and loss or income statement type report. So we'll go to reports here on the left-hand side, and we're going to go to profit and loss. So I'm going to just do the standard profit and loss report here. And we're going to run this one as of 12/31/20 and 12/31/20. And we will then run that report. So 12/31/2020 to 12/31/2020, run the report. And here we have this sales of 20,500. We didn't really have any sales. All we did was enter those beginning balances. That sales number then being generated, if we click on it, from these beginning balances we entered, which QuickBooks made an invoice for, even though we didn't make an invoice, assuming, of course, that we had those sales due to an invoice. So we're going to select the back here. So we're back to this report. Then, of course, if we go to the next day, if we go one more day up to January of the next year, January 1st, 2021 to January 1st, 2021, run the report. We don't have any information. That's the point. We don't want anything in the temporary accounts, in the income statement accounts, in the profit and loss accounts. We're going to go to a accounts receivable report now and go ahead and print that report out. So let's go back to reports down here. We're going to go to reports, and we're going to go to, let's try a customer balance and do a summary report. So we want a customer balance summary report. And here is our customer balance summary. And note that we don't really need to change the dates. This is as of a point in time. So we're going to say that's going to be the report. That's where we are at. We're going to practice exporting this report to Excel. So we will select the export. We're going to export to Excel here. And it'll just generate our Excel document. So we're going to open that up. We'll enable the editing and pull that up to the top, and it formats the title for us. It gives us the tab. It's formatted a little bit differently than the desktop version. It looks good, and so we will save this. So we're going to go to File, Save As, Browse to where we would like to put this report. I'm going to put it into a Excel Docs for 6, and this time I am going to keep it on the section 6, but I will keep the tab name this time. When we made this prior format, I was thinking we would put them all on one workbook, but which works great on the desktop version. The way the online version, it's a little bit more difficult to put them all on one workbook. So we're going to go ahead and save them as separate workbooks for now. And that's how to enter the customer balances and new customers and to export the report to Excel.